Bye. See you later.
About ready to go live. Just another minute here. I'm going to wait till it's the end of the video, which should be about 30 seconds. Quick intro and then hand it over to TK. Alright, here we go. Ready? Hello everybody, welcome to the PHG Gran Turismo World Series race. We're doing round 4 today. My name's Salamander. I'm joined in the booth today with my co-host T-Case And Leo, say hi, guys.
How's it going, y'all?
Hey, hey.
All right, so we're hoping to have a good race today. T-Case is actually going to be our lead commentator, so I'm going to turn it over to him to take us through.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Sal. And here we are for round 4 of the first Gran Turismo PHG World Series. And we are at the Red Bull Ring, and it is going to be fantastic. I hope you all have tuned in for the first 3 rounds. They have been epic. Variety of tracks, variety of cars, and variety of results. So here we are, round 4, Red Bull Ring, one of my favorite tracks. 18 laps. Drivers can use any Group 3 car, and there will be rain. We know for a fact that we are getting rain. How heavy, how long, those things are a bit variable. We know we're going to get a heavy downpour, and then it'll slowly lighten, but it can't be the exact same for each race, but it's going to be pretty close. That was the goal, to give each split similar scenarios and be able to practice for them. So it's going to be great. I'm participating in split 2, as is Leo. Leo, you've been doing some practice. What can you tell us about this?
Oh, man. T-Case, it's going to be some very tight, close racing action along with the weather. That's going to be the game changers. When that weather comes down, who's going to be on what tire compound, and who chose the wets versus the intermediates, who can survive these slick corners is what I think is going to happen.
Indeed. Salamander, you're not participating this week. You participated in the previous rounds. Have you taken a crack at this combo at all in the last week?
I haven't taken a crack at this specific combo, but back when I was in the BHRL League Series, we ran this same track, and it was rain, pretty heavy rain for about half of it. So a similar combo, but we were in a road car for that one, and it was definitely a challenge when the downpour happened. So it's always a trick adjusting to getting your fastest laps in the dry and then having to dial it back significantly when the rain comes. So looking forward to see how well these drivers manage that.
Indeed, and all tires are available to these drivers, but from what I've seen, everybody's going to be using the soft for the dry sessions, and then they have the choice of inters or full wets, depending on their comfort level there during the race in the rain. And have we started qualifying, or are they just practicing right now?
They're just practicing.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. I tried a couple different cars here. Leo, how many cars did you mess around with, or did you kind of stick with one?
I have actually messed around with 3. I'll let you guess the first one.
Well, the first one was the Mazda. We already know. We've heard it just screaming on the track. Even when you're in the menu of the lobby, you can tell when Leo goes by, because it just as it goes by the pit lane. What were the other ones?
The GT 500 NSX, the older one. Not the newer one.
Got a really good top end, right?
It's decent. It just didn't have the acceleration out of the corners like I would like. Other than that, the handling and then the rain, it was a little sketchy. So then I finally landed on the Porsche. Just a good all-around car, honestly. And I've had a lot of fun on Daily Race B this week with it. So I'm very comfortable with it there, and now I've gotten it comfortable here. Is it the fastest car? No. But these top drivers here have made it very fast, apparently.
Indeed. And it is, it's great in the wet. I remember, I believe it was a Manufacturers Cup a few seasons ago. They did a Suzuka race in the Group 3 where it ended up raining around midway through the race. And Suzuka is not my track, but I had signed with Porsche for that season, And man, I thought I had the worst race. I spun out when it was dry, and then it got to the wet, and I could not do any wrong. and just march through the field in that Porsche. So it is really, really good in the wet. And this track specifically, it has the really heavy braking zones where it almost feels like you're coming to a stop, especially up at turn 2 at the top of the hill. And one of the things I noticed was, in the dry, you could brake pretty late, but also in the wet, because you're going uphill, you could still brake a lot later than some of the other corners. I found that I was adjusting my brake marker for the other corners way back in the wet, but going up that hill, you got, gravity in your favor. You're able to get the car slowed down a little bit more. And then you just have to worry about accelerating as you come over that apex, which is a weird crest. So there's a few spots here where the cars are prone for power oversteer. And if you just get on it a little bit too quickly, it's real easy to spin around. And it is cooler out there as well. So while they are on the softs in the dry, it's still a little lacking in grip. Salamander, are you a fan of this track at all?
There's a reason I'm skipping this week. Me and Red Bull Ring just don't get along. It's a fun track, and when you get the flow down, it is a fun drive, but I have a hard time wrestling with this one. And within this series, with only 4 of your races counting for the ending point total anyway, this seemed like a good week for me to take off.
Absolutely, and you've given us this beautiful stream. I got to commend you on the work you've done on these overlays with the host names, the transition screens. You were telling me before the stream you did a little practice beforehand. It looks fantastic. I hope everybody's enjoying what they're seeing. So great job, and thank you for putting in that effort.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the appreciation. Yeah, however you say that.
Yeah, appreciate to be appreciated.
Fantastic, Sal.
Yeah, it looks.
You're gonna do it. Do it right.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Well done. And it just, I'm looking at it right here, and I'm just like, man, that's really nice. I like that. I like that a lot. Another thing, ideas. Exactly. And all the practicing is everybody's liveries. I'm loving seeing the efforts people are putting in on their liveries. It's a lot of fun to see. This has pushed my livery making using the tips I've gotten from Sal over the time knowing him, and made me put a little more effort than I would normally put in making a livery, just because I'm participating in this race.
Yeah, I must say, being a livery guy myself, seeing all these guys out here with the custom stuff on, and like you said, that they've obviously been putting some time into it. It is really fun to see. I like how in Lyric's car here he's got a whole bunch of different tracks all over the car. It's very subtle. You have to look kind of close, but I don't know if it's all the different tracks from the game or whatever. In fact, when we go to full screen, we'll probably see it a little bit better. But
okay.
Speaking of, I don't know why I don't have mine in full screen. I'm here looking at a little window, and I was like, I can't see anything. What is he talking about? I do see that now. So it's almost looks like a camouflagey design, but it's actually tracks. That's really cool. Very, very cool. I like that.
It was neat. This last fall, I had gone to the IMSA race at Road America, and there was a Porsche there where the racing stripe had all the different tracks they were racing on within the racing stripe. And I always thought that was super cool. So seeing somebody do something similar here brings back that memory.
Absolutely. That makes me think of... Oh, go ahead, Leo.
Track official that qualifying will start soon.
Oh, fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, my buddy just got a couple-year-old TRD Pro Toyota Tacoma, and it has a black decal on the hood. And just like that, it's like a topography of, is it somewhere in California.
I think so.
I want to, and it's the whole topography. Tahoe? Is that what you said?
It's either Baja or, I don't know for sure for the TRD stuff. You'd think the guy that would be...
It has to do with where the car is, or the truck is designed or whatever. But it's really cool.
Going to be starting qualifying.
Subtle touch. And here we go in 0 seconds. So this is only 5 minutes of qualifying. To qualify for your split, we had 10 minutes. So there's kind of a strategy in it. You know, you could pit once, put on a fresh set of tires. It's a flat sprint. I know in practicing today, I saw some people do 2 out laps before they put in their flying lap. So I'm curious to see if we're going to get everybody going flat out, or if we're going to get some slower out laps. I don't know about y'all. I'm not hearing any game audio.
In the Discord. Yeah, we couldn't figure that out.
Yeah, we couldn't figure that out either.
That's okay.
But I believe it is
viewers
coming
can
through
get
on
it.
the stream. So
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. As we're on board with Shaggy Doo, I think everybody knows right now, Shaggy is the one who put this whole thing on. This is all thanks to him, and we are so appreciative of the effort he's put in here. We all know how good he is, how quick he is, and he's using the Supra, which, from my understanding, does not like the wet. I know it's a fast car. I'm curious how this guy is going to do once the downpour comes. Do either of you like driving the Supra?
No.
What about you, Sal?
You know, back when Gran Turismo first started and before the big physics update, the Supra was my car. I drove it all the time, and ever since the physics update, I've not been able to get a handle on it, and really the Corvette has been my go-to.
Indeed. And another interesting thing with Shaggy driving the Supra, I did use it for one race. It was a Grand Valley highway, and I figured out how to drive the silly thing. And one of the things was the gearing and how you shift and upshifting and stuff. But I know Shaggy's on controller and drives automatic, so you think it would be at a disadvantage, but apparently the automatic transmission does just fine in this Supra. Or he's just so fast it doesn't matter.
I think it's the latter of the two.
That makes sense.
He's
Definitely.
quick. I have heard rumors sometimes he does use the e-brake to do certain things with the automatic transmission.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that's going to come into play here because of the weather, but I have heard that back in season 2? No, 3 of NRL when we had the trucks at the dirt track.
Ah, gotcha. That makes sense. As we are on board with Jorge in the Porsche, beautiful green and white livery.
Yes.
You know, race cars always look good in green, and Rick Shear right behind, also in the Porsche, with a fun yellow and red. And I believe he has a decal of Papa on his. One of the there it is, beautiful, beautiful. And here's where we come into the part of the track where track limits make a huge difference. If you just run a little bit too wide on the exit of either of these turns, you're getting a half-second penalty, but that's the fastest way to do it. You want to use up all the track, and then as we come up to turn 1, long straight, slide uphill, late on the brakes, and then you want to chuck it in there, try to get that apex, get on the throttle. You can run a little wider on that exit, but as we saw there, that looks like it should be a half-a-second penalty. We'll see as he ran outside that yellow sausage curb, which in some cars will really unsettle the car.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to be careful.
Into Barrier there if you're not careful.
Indeed. And we got Jorge with the fastest lap right now, a 1:28.9. It is insane to me how these drivers are getting into the 28s. And just look how close the next 4 drivers are in the low 29s. So it's going to be a very close, very competitive race. These guys are going to want to put as much distance between the people behind them once the race starts, before that rain starts falling. And now it looks like we got a big bunch of cars, which is not ideal for qualifying. You really want to give each other space, but that's hard to do here at this track because you got to use those last 2 turns to build up speed for the long straight. Leo, did you find anywhere on this track that you struggled more than other spots?
Actually, yes. The downhill coming off of turn 2, going in the downhill braking zone, I can never judge how much steering input to put there and how much brakes, because usually it's either I put too little brakes and I go sliding off into the kitty litter, or I come to a complete stop. That is like my worst turn. Other than that, perfectly fine everywhere else.
Interesting. Yeah, I found that it took me a while to get that turned down, that right-hander. But for me on this track, I feel comfortable on all the right-handers. It's those two left-handers. They're kind of late apexes, and I just end up understeering and I'm not quite able to get on the power quick enough. So that's my crux. I know some people were saying turn one was the bane of their existence. It's going to be interesting to see. So Jorge is done. He's in the pits. Racer 51 just went purple as he goes through turn two, and he's got a car right in front of him. Hopefully that doesn't mess him up as they come down to what you were saying is your least favorite part of this track. Let's see. Late on the brakes. Now, he is in the 4C, which is very interesting. It's a car that handles really, really well. I know it's not always the fastest, but I think around here with its size, it's definitely going to play to his advantage. And now we're at the part where I was saying I struggle with the most, these two left-handers. We're about to get a sector time. Oh, and he lost a lot of speed going into turn two. So he does not have a chance to get pole here anymore. But let's see how he finished. Nope, he's done. He said, no sense in trying to finish or get in anybody's way. We'll let everybody else go through as Paradox is going to cross the line with, can they beat their 29.3? No, they cannot. Followed by, oh, and we got a penalty on C-dubs. That's not going to work. P. Choi looks like he had 29.6. Lyric, I saw him being so fast in practices. Let's look at those results. Salamander, do you mind taking us through the qualifying results?
Yeah, thanks, TKs. Looks like we got PHG Jorge Sr. Is our pole sitter with a 128.978, just under that 129 mark, followed so closely by Racer 51. He's only, not even a 100th of a second off.
007.
That is a close qualifying time. P3, we got Shaggy Doo 88, followed by Rick Shear in P4, Paradox in P5, Lyric in P6. In those top sixer, we got 4 911s, if that tells you anything. And then in P7, we got Vetter Dan. Vetter Dan happened to have the fastest qualifying time in the lead up to this to get into Split 1. So him down in 7 is a little bit of a surprise. We'll see what he can do there. P8, we got PHG Turbo, also in a Corvette. P9, we got P Choi in a Supra. Then we got in P10 Fast Cougar QC in the 4C. And then P11 we got PHG Jersey. P12 we got C-Dubs. P13 we got Root. And P14 we got Rowdy in his fancy Ferrari 458.
And it doesn't look like Rowdy put a time in at all, so he will be starting from the back. Man, good mix of cars. Really good mix of cars. Yeah, like you were saying, the 911 seemed to do really well up there at the front. I am surprised that Vetter Dan qualified where he did. And also 2 4Cs. I think in Split 2 we're going to see a lot more people in the same car based on what I saw in practicing. But here in this race, we got a good mix, a very good mix. I cannot wait to get this underway. Now, Leo, do you remember around what lap the rain came?
I believe it's lap 7 going into 8 is when the rain will start coming down.
I
noticed. Yeah, we have another commentator in here.
Oh, look at there! Is that a Mr. Toon I see?
Sure is. Unfortunately, Discord will not let you enter completely silent, but yes, I decided to pop on in and see how you guys were doing, see if I needed any assistance, but I got TK's and Leo in here with Salamander, so you guys don't need me.
Oh,
yeah, but we want you.
Yeah.
We love you, Toon.
All right, I love y'all too. Let's get this going then.
There we go.
So, we had a pretty interesting qualifying session. Vetter Dan, as stated before in P7 when he was originally leading the charge coming into this race. So this is definitely a bit of a surprise, but then again, we could just be seeing Vetter Dan trying to conserve a little bit of energy. Maybe the lobby conditions aren't the same. There's multitudes of factors here. But, I mean, if Vetter Dan was able to lead the entire PHG roster for the qualifying times for this race in the qualifying sessions, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him up in at least the podium come the tail end of this race. Would I be mistaken in any of that, Leo?
No, I had mentioned or talked to him a little bit actually. I think that was like a one-off thing. We'll see if he can do it again, but he's a very fast driver in his own right, and I'm amazed to see Corvettes on this track with the rain coming.
I am. And speaking of the car choices, I actually want to pick your brain, TKs. Which is the larger surprise to you in terms of cars on this grid, the 4Cs or the Corvettes?
I saw a bunch of people use the Corvette, and I actually changed to using the Corvette as well. It actually does really well around here and isn't so terrible in the rain. I think I'm always surprised when I see the 4C in Group 3. It just doesn't seem to get used. I did use it a bit back at Monza, and I enjoyed it. And we're off. Is anybody going to make a move into turn 1? It's not the best idea, but sometimes you got to do it. And Vetterdan, late on the brakes.
There was a little bit of argy-bargy going into Niki Lauda curve, which is turn 1. As they head up towards Ramus, is this going to be a little dicier? I know it is a very, very favorite spot to do a dive bomb. Let's go and take a look at the replay real quick. Let's see what happened here. Okay, a little bit of bumping, but that appeared to be netcode. No contact whatsoever. So I think it's just PD being PD. But as we jump back on board with Vetterdan, it seems Turbo has a half-second penalty coming up into Schlossgold. So will Vetterdan wait and just overtake at the penalty line? Will he try and get a overtake done through Roush or Verth? It's a guessing game, but honestly, I'd say just stay behind Turbo while you can, because you're going to get the position anyway, unless maybe Turbo scrubbed off too much speed. He might be able to get an overtake done sooner than anticipated and get P7 back, and then focus on the time ahead. Now, I know TK, you and Leo are both racing in this for Split 2. TK, so I'm glad to see you back in the saddle. How much practice did you guys put in for this race? We'll start with you, TKs. Vetterdan's probably going to get a half-second penalty right there. Carry on, sorry.
Indeed. I didn't put a lot. I put some, more than I usually do. And ended up switching cars this morning. I was going to use the Ferrari, did a couple practice races in the Ferrari, then did one practice race in the Corvette, and was so much faster that I was like, all right, here we go. So I did a little bit. I'm not usually one to practice, so yeah. How about you, Leo?
I actually didn't do a lot of practice either. I wanted to test a theory of, can I go in dead cold, and well, we'll see how that goes. I maybe have done a couple hours altogether.
Drivers in Split 2, please watch yourself in the braking zones, as Leo has no idea what he's doing, has no practice, and will be a rolling hazard on the circuit. Speaking of hazards, it looks like Lyric almost became a hazard to Paradox coming into the braking zone into Schlossgold. But luckily there was no real harm done, so everybody can carry on racing as usual. Now, Salamander, I also am surprised to see you not taking part in this. Do you feel like just giving the commentary a try? Were you not feeling Red Bull Ring? What's the situation there?
Yeah, me and Red Bull Ring just don't get along very well. And I had explained earlier, with the way the points system works in this series, only 4 of your races count. So I was always planning to sit out 1 or 2. This seemed like a good one for me to sit out.
And not a bad time to give yourself a bye week. Now, as we come across the line, it looks like the fastest laps are starting to mellow out a little bit. Jorge Sr. with a 1:29.059, so very respectable time indeed. And it looks like the grid's still staying pretty bunched up. So I am definitely glad to see everybody putting in the hustle, that effort, trying to get as many points as possible. Now, unfortunately, I am being summoned to pertinent matters, so I must leave you all. But for the remainder of the broadcast, TK, Leo, Sal, you guys do a fantastic job. You guys are all excellent commentators in your own right. And if y'all need anything, just let me know. Enjoy the show, everybody. God bless. Good night.
Thanks for stopping in, Toon.
Indeed. Thanks, Toon. We always love having you, bud. And it looks like what he was saying, we got everybody from P3 all the way to the back really close. And then we got Jorge and Racer having their own race out front, as we see PH Jersey with a half-second penalty. The track limits here, they're a killer. They're a killer.
Oh,
we see that in any of the race series, F1, DTM, any of the Porsche Cups, any of those times where they race here. Track limits is always an issue. As we look even further back, very tight as P. Choi is trying to make a move there on Rowdy and Root. I like Root and the NSX, Choi and C-Dubs in the Supra as well. Putting all the pressure, using the slipstream. In my opinion, turn 1 is not the place to make a move, just because you really need all that exit speed to get up the hill, and it's much better to try to wait until turn 2 or 3 to make your move. It's best to back off, go ahead and take turn 1, and then use that exit speed to the best of your ability. Rowdy is catching up pretty close to Root, not close enough to make a move, but C-Dubs is able to get in on the inside of P. Choi as they race down the hill. And this is that awkward downhill braking zone that you were talking about, Leo. Trail braking is key here. If you can't trail brake, this turn doesn't work for you, as C-Dub is able to complete the move on the inside. One cool thing about that turn is you can make a move around the outside as well. It's not just the inside that has the advantage. You can carry a little more speed and get them on the exit. As we join the leaders here with Jorge and Racer 51, only a half a second lead there on Racer 51. So Racer 51 staying in touch, staying in the tow as we start lap 5. So we have maybe 3-4 laps before we got a pit for tires. I know I found once that heavy rain started, based on my pace, depending where I was on the track, I had about a lap and a quarter before it got too wet. So depending on where you are and when the rain starts, you might be able to do one extra lap than those further behind, or you might have to pit earlier because of where you are on the track. So sometimes being way out front has its advantage, but sometimes it can be a disadvantage if the rain comes at the wrong time. As we go back to Shaggy, who has a gaggle of Porsches behind him, really wanting to get by, and Paradox with the penalty, going for maybe a move around the outside.
Yep. Maybe.
Nope, he just got to hold on. Ooh! And a tank slapper, but he holds it. Impressive.
Excellent.
And with that penalty, he's going to lose positions, but he wants to lose as few as possible. And I got to say, I love that Gulf livery. But, man, that's a lot of pressure there on Shaggy. What are you thinking, Leo?
Yeah, man. It's you got 2 Porsches breathing down your neck. You got Paradox and Lyric and Vetter Dan back there. I mean, the pressure is on him. Hopefully he can maybe not look in the rearview mirror and just keep driving. Sometimes that's the only thing you can do, is not even pretend like they're there and just drive like you should.
Right, and that's where
up a half-second penalty for his troubles.
Indeed, that's where the argument of what view you use. Do you use the view that gives you the rear view mirror, or the view that doesn't? I like to be able to see what's going on, but also you do get caught looking in that mirror. Versus when you use the hood cam, you don't have, or if you're in VR, you don't quite have that distraction. But yeah, Lyric ran wide there right before the final corner as he goes purple here on the 6th lap. But if Paradox can stay close, which it looks like he will, is going to swap back positions with Lyric. What are you thinking there, Salamander, as you watch these guys go around the track?
I'm loving that we've got this train of cars going. Haven't seen anybody totally bin it yet, so everyone's still in the race here. Everyone's got a chance to make up some spots, and I know we harp on this a lot, that this is so much different from the daily races. I mean, we were just watching some good battles all the way at the back of the pack. Just really good driving, really good quality drivers here. This is fun to see.
I agree 100%. And while I was practicing this morning in one of Papa's lobbies, shout out to Papa's House of Games, the proprietor of PHG, another person we need to thank for allowing these awesome races to go on. Is there was some contact in one of the practice races, and everybody was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, look out! Oh, hey, how you know?" Joking and having fun. And he pointed out, he goes, "If this was as Rick Shear goes on the inside on turn one, that was I mean, he made the apex, it looked like, and he's going to keep on going. We don't know if Paradox is going to get a penalty from that. Looks like he is safe." And that was an aggressive move, and you can see he doesn't quite have the speed up the hill. Let's look at this again. Dives up the inside. He does make the apex and continues on. Wow. I mean, it was aggressive, but I think it was fair. There was a gap, and he went for it. But you saw going up the hill, he didn't have the exit speed, and that was allowing Lyric to stay tight on him. As now, who do we have there in the fourth? That's Fast Cougar making a play here, trying to go up the inside of Paradox. And Fast Cougar capitalizes. Oh, my goodness. Paradox is falling backwards. He's not giving up, though. Fighting as hard as he can. He's going to have to settle in P7 as Turbo has overtaken Vetterdan. And here comes the rain. So do they box now, or do they? I think the leaders are coming in. They're not going to risk it. We're going to see everybody pit here. The only person who I has to worry is who is back there, unfortunately, in last place. They might struggle to make that pit entry by the time they get there. But everybody's going to come in. Turbo stays out. That's a risk. He's taking a gamble. I don't know if he'd get in or if he thinks he can make it all the way around, but looking at that moisture meter, as we like to call it, it is up into that inners. Yeah, this is going to be a painful lap. And I think we saw somebody come out on the wets. We see a mix of intermediates and wets. The heavy. Oh yeah, he can't even get it. This is. We're sorry, Turbo. Don't know what happened. If you got blocked going into the pits or just thought you could make it. He also plays in VR. I don't know how much that has to do with being able to going on with the weather. But we now have Jorge in first and Racer 51 in second. Racer on the full wets. Right now, the moisture meter is at the intermediate level, but I do believe it will get up into that top third, giving the full wets a good time. But what I saw in practicing was once it starts drying out, those intermediates definitely have an advantage. So I think with the gap Racer 51 has, he's going to be okay from anybody behind. As we look here with Fast Cougar also on the wets. Ooh, a lot of slippy and slidey. You got to be careful. I assume most of these drivers are going to be using their traction control if they weren't already in the wet. Salamander, what is your feeling on wet weather driving in these Group 3 cars?
It's tough. Traction control is almost required unless you're a World Tour driver. But you certainly have to dial it back significantly from what you were doing in the dry weather. And now that we are into that full wet condition, we're going to see who can restrain themselves the most, because that's really what it's going to come down to. It's always sort of a mental thing where you're worried about, God, I feel like I'm going so slow. But you can end up making up a lot of time. The wet weather is a period where those that know what they're doing can make up a lot of time over those that don't quite adapt. So we'll see who can adapt the best.
As they go too wide into turn 2, looks like Fast Cougar making a move, but a switchback by Lyric. And this is where getting on the throttle too quickly can really hurt you, as Lyric smartly just backs out of it and lets Vetterdan by. That is a tricky spot to get on the throttle, even in the dry, but especially in the wet. And then this downhill, you got gravity working against you. It's a later apex, and you got the gravel on the outside as we see Vetterdan. Ooh, and almost Jersey and Paradox. Very, rejoined okay. Everybody was able to get by and keep on moving, but that's easy to happen. And in the practices I was in, I saw that happen with the leaders. they're out there doing their thing, and next thing you know, they're spinning around and the rest of the pack is catching up. But I'm loving this midfield battle for really that we're seeing from Shaggy Doo all the way back to Vetterdan. Is really, really aggressive. Anything can happen, and it just takes one slip up and you're falling backwards. I do find in the wet sometimes racing with other cars around you makes it harder because you are pushing, like you were saying, Salamander. You're wanting to brake that little bit later. You're wanting to get on the throttle that little bit sooner, and you got to show some self-control. As it looks like fifth place has now really pulled away there from the back group. We're getting another little split of cars as third through fifth here are pushing it up the hill, slipping and sliding everywhere.
Everybody's slipping and sliding.
Yeah, it's so tough. Like you said, racing around the other drivers, it's when you're hanging on for dear life to your car, sometimes just to keep it on the track, to try to avoid others, is just that much more difficult in the rain. Oh, I see Rick Shear making a move on the inside. Oh, he might be able to make it stick.
He
can, and Rick's on the intermediates, able to get the grip, and that's where the Porsche has its advantage in the wet over these FR cars like the Vet or the GTR. You can just get on the power a little bit sooner. You got the motor over those rear wheels pushing it down, and it really does play to its advantage. But in other corners, I found that the Corvette was really able to do well. So we'll see if Jersey's able to push back here against Rick as they come around. And that may be a penalty for Rick. It was awfully close running wide there. We will see momentarily. I think he got away with it. Yes, he did. He's safe.
Yeah. I saw Vetter Dan in the background back there. Looked like he had a little bit of an issue. Came around the corner a little too quick.
Yep. He's got a... Oof. And Pete Troy is all over him. He's going to serve that 1 second penalty at the end of the next lap. So if he can put a little bit of distance here, he might be able to hold on to P10. But what a roller coaster of a race Vetterdan's been having. He's moved up and back and all over the place. Ooh, squiggly. And he makes it out okay onto the final straight there.
Holding on for dear life.
I want to pose this question to y'all. Do you find it hard once the track is starting to dry up to go back to that full race speed?
Absolutely.
Yes. I was messing with that today because your brake marker, every lap, your brake marker moves a little bit further.
Yep.
A little bit closer to where it is when it's completely dry. And sometimes you push it a little too far and then you overshoot the corner. Or if you're racing with somebody and you hit it a little early behind you, they're just going to go into the back of you if they're thinking their brake marker's in a different spot. So it does pose some challenges as the track dries out. How about you, Salamander?
Yeah, it's really always a mental challenge for me that once the rain comes, to get back up to full speed in the dry, it seems like such a slow crawl. I tend to continue to be more conservative, probably longer than I should, and I find myself getting past as the track does start to dry out.
And Shaggy Doo is falling back to fifth, and that puts Lyric up into third. Not quite sure what happened there, but that is unfortunate. But the pack is so close, it makes sense. Like we were saying, one minor error and boom, you lost some places. And Rick Shear with 1.5 second penalties. He does have a good gap on Jersey, but that's going to slow him down a lot. Luckily, the penalty line here is right before a braking zone, so it's not as damaging as if they put it, like, say, right here on this long straight. So we'll see how much that affects him as he goes into the penalty zone at the end of this lap. So they climb up the hill. And one of the things I started doing when I was practicing was really using my lap times on the right-hand side of the screen as a gauge of my progression as the track dried out. You know, you're a second quicker, and then the next lap you're a 1.5 seconds quicker, and kind of using that as a gauge of, am I pushing it too hard? This is working. Okay, this next lap I can push that much harder as a way to kind of see how hard you need to push. But you know, we all want to be brave and be the fastest, but sometimes being conservative, taking it easy, benefits you in the long run, especially when the person in front of you makes a mistake. As they now come around, we are about to start lap 13 of 18.
Yep.
The leaders are coming around that final corner. What a gap they have, 15 and a half seconds to P3. And they are just commanding this race. They can afford to make a mistake. Jorge can't if he wants to keep the lead, but Racer definitely could afford a mistake and still hang on to that P2. As we go back here with Vetterdan still trying to get that P10 back. Yeah, this is, that's an interesting place to go for it. Can he make it stick? He gets on the gas. To do it. And P-Choi is technically, nope, he couldn't get on the throttle quick enough. It was a value. He's going again. He's tired of that P11. He wants back in the top 10. A little contact compromises his speed on the uphill, but it looks like he's able to make that move done. Does P-Choi fight back going into turn 2? I think Vetterdan is far enough ahead if he hits his marks, and that's good. And that's allowed Root to catch up. What have you noticed, Leo, when chasing some people as they start battling? Does that entice you to go quicker?
It does. Honestly, like if I start seeing people battle in front of me, I know I could probably either stay at the speed that I am and wait for either a mistake to be made, or put the throttle down a little more and try to catch up to them to see if I can capitalize on that battling. Because when you're battling someone, and we all know it's going to slow you down no matter what. You could be this person ever, but if you're having to keep someone off your tail or defend corners, you're going to go a little slower. But now in the rain, that's a different story. I would keep my distance a little bit more, just to give way in case somebody makes a huge mistake.
Indeed. And Salamander, I'm curious, have you ever, do you tend to maybe back out of a fight knowing that it's slowing you down, or are you one of those that just can't let it go and you got to stay in there till the battle's done?
Oh, the latter. Not proud of that. I tend to do I've got to get around this guy. I've got to get this position. There are times where I do consciously tell myself, it's like, just wait, back out of this corner, live to fight another day. And typically that's how it works. You end up getting into a straight or onto a straightaway or somewhere else where it's easier to make the pass. But there are times where you're just mired behind somebody and it's like, oh my God, would you just pull over and let me go? I'm faster than you. And that gets frustrating. But
I've seen a caveat to that for you, Sal. If RJ's behind you.
He is so patient. He just waits for me to make a mistake because he knows I will.
I don't know. You two go at it like there's no tomorrow. I watched y'all go at it the other day. I was like, I'm getting flashbacks of NRL all over again.
And I think that's fun about these races, as we all, we've all gotten to know each other pretty well. We've raced against each other a lot. We've done a lot of practices. It makes these races, you start to see, it's in like any race series, you start to see your opponent's strengths and weaknesses. You know what they're likely to do, what they're not likely to do, and it makes for some really fun racing. And like we've said, we're getting such clean races, good battles. We've seen aggressive moves, but they've all been fair in my opinion. As we saw, is this Rick? Who is this that we're on board with?
That's Rick that we're on board with. Looks like he got onto the wet patch there and just lost a little bit of control, which gave Fast Cougar the chance to get by him and lost time to Shaggy, unfortunately.
Indeed, and Shaggy's starting to put pressure on Lyric. He wants that P3 back. Good on him for moving back up through the field like this. Yeah, after he made his little mistake and fell back. But Lyric seems to be, this is where Lyric is going to start to struggle. The track is now drying out. He is on the full wets. What tire is Shaggy on? Do we know?
Intermediate.
Shaggy is on the Inter, so I think we're going to see advantage Shaggy for these final laps. as he starts to close down, because I noticed it. I did one race in with the wet tires, and once it starts drying out, you lose so much speed, especially accelerating and in the braking. It's just not as quick as the intermediates are. Leo, did you try out both tires, or did you?
I actually did. I did actually. I tried the wets for a few practice runs, and I was like, this paradox go off. He got too confident in that corner and gave it too much throttle and kicked the back end out and did a 360 no scope.
360 no scope indeed, and while the track is drying out, those curbs are still soaked. So look, yep, he gets really wide on those wet curbs, under braking, and just loses it. Oh, you hate to see it. And then it's super slick off the track there. So getting back on is even harder as he falls back to P10 behind Vetterdan. Just a few laps left. And are we going to get some lap traffic maybe? There's a chance depending on what happens here in these final laps, because Jorge and Racer51 are already on the way up the hill, I believe, going into turn 2. So they're coming up on those back markers. So that'll make this that much more interesting.
Yes,
for sure. Oh no, I was looking at the radar wrong. Okay, they're about to start their 17th lap. I was looking at them as if they were the last place drivers, not the first place drivers.
They do have one person ahead of them,
but somebody. Yeah,
they're a full straight ahead. But they could come into play.
Especially when you look at these lap times that they're putting in now that the track's drying out. They're getting down into the low 30s, the mid to low 30s.
Looks like Rowdy was able to get around Fast Cougar. How about Rowdy here? Watching him here lately, and he started dead last in this, and he's up into P7 halfway through the field. We're getting down to the closing lap, so not a lot more positions to gain, but pretty nice comeback for him.
Indeed, and that's the car that I originally was going to use. I did some practice in it, and I definitely liked it in the wet, and we're seeing it work for him here. It was interesting. We saw everybody pit at the same time except for Turbo, which was unfortunate. Rick Shear sending it, and yep, he was too late on the brakes. Gonna have to give those positions back, and probably a penalty as well. As Shaggy and Lyric are side by side. Let's take a look as they come up the hill. He's thinking, okay, I got the inside. I can get 2 for 1. 2 for 1 special, and no, not quite. Unfortunately for Rick. But luckily he didn't spin. It's so easy to spin right there.
It looked like Lyric was pushing him into the corner there.
Indeed, and Shaggy has gotten up into 3rd, and Lyric has now fallen back to 5th and has Jersey all over him.
Well, we got Rick 4 guys
all
there.
All over the back of Shaggy. We got a
4
almost. Oh no!
Oh,
and Lyric gets a bump. It looks like. Oh, thank you for ghosting. That helped Rowdy out a lot. Rowdy would have died as well as. Ooh, that is so unfortunate for Lyric. Let's see if there was a little bump from behind. Yes, that's hard to say. It could be netcode with Jersey right there going into that left-hander. I don't know. What did you see there, Salamander?
Yeah, it looked like Jersey might have just gotten into him a little bit at the end, but once you start getting down to the end of the race here, it's go time. So, might have been that Lyric got on the brakes a little earlier than he expected, but
yes,
that's racing.
Indeed, it is. I definitely didn't look intentional. It didn't look like he was like, I'm just going to push you off. It was tight. They were both trying to get into that turn, and they were just really close to each other, and it's hard not to make contact as Rick is pushing his hardest to get that P3 away from Shaggy. And it looks like we are going to see some lap traffic here with Jorge. He already got past them. Got past C-Dubs and put a car between him and Racer 51. He's going to be safe from Racer 51 and going to be finishing. And unfortunately for C-Dubs, they will be finishing this race a lap early. As he comes around the penultimate to the final corner. Even if he gets a penalty, it doesn't matter. Jorge drove a perfect race. Not a foot wrong.
Indeed.
And wow, what a performance. Racer 51 in a car I didn't expect to see coming across the line for P2. Rick Shear gets ahead of Shaggy in the final lap, takes P3. Ooh. What a race by, well, I mean, that was a roller coaster. For how many positions was Rick in during this race? At least 6.
Lost count.
With quite a few
Rowdy
penalties.
with a P5.
Oh, wow.
Very nice. Paradox coming across. Paradox had a big spin. Lyric had a spin. It looks like Jersey probably gave that position back there to Lyric. And then we got Root. I didn't even realize Turbo kept with it. Good for him for somehow getting back to the pits.
Yes.
And finishing this race. I think most people would have just quit, if I'm honest. And here we go. P. Choi, P13. What would you have done, Leo? If you were Turbo, would you have quit after you came off there, or would you try to get back?
I'd try to get back. At a certain point, you're like, okay, well, I'm just here to have fun now. So that's pretty much where I'd be at. Yeah, it's disheartening, but I mean, maybe you can. It's a long race, so maybe you could pick some spots up, like we saw. He picked back up to what, 12th, correct?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's always a possibility. Kind of quitting on it, you know. I mean, if it was a short, like 5-lap race, okay, then yeah.
Sure.
But with a longer race, you can get away with keep going attitude.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. Well, we kind of knew it was going to happen up front with Jorge and Racer 51 with their commanding lead. But after that, it was a toss-up. We saw so much. Salamander, will you take us through these results?
Sure thing, T-Case. We got Jorge Sr. with a dominant performance, finishing in P1. Congratulations to him. Followed not too far behind by Racer 51, who also had a dominant performance. Those 1-2 guys were way out ahead the whole race. Third place, hard fought by Rick Shear in his Porsche. P4, we got Shaggy Doo in his Supra. And how about Rowdy in P5, coming up from last to 5th? That was a heck of a run by him. P6, we got Fast Cougar QC in the Alpha 4C. P7, we got Vetter Dan in the Corvette, followed by Paradox in P8 in the 911. And then rounding out the second half of the field, we got Lyric in P9. He unfortunately had that spin right at the end. He seemed to have a little bit of help from Jersey, who finished right behind him in P10. Kudos to Jersey. We think he may have given that spot back. That's some good sportsmanship. P11, we got Root in the lone GTR in this split. And P12, we got Turbo in his Corvette, followed by P. Choi in P13 in the Supra, and C-Dubs finishing us off in P14. Unfortunately, 1 lap down.
Wow, that was way closer than I expected. To have that many position swaps, that many overtakes. Fantastic. I loved it. I believe we need to pick a driver of the day.
Do we do that now or do we do that at the end?
I think we should do it for this split, right? Or am I wrong? I could be wrong.
How about we do it for both splits?
We do it for both splits. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just a person.
Come back in after the race.
Yeah, we can come back.
Well, no, what I mean is let's do it for this split and then let's do it for the next one.
And yeah, that's what I was meaning. Yes. Okay. Yeah. We just, the words we used were different. Yeah, so driver of the day for split 1, Leo, you got one?
Yeah, Turbo. He didn't quit after completely for not being able to go into the pits.
That's a great choice. How about you, Salamander?
For me, I pick Rowdy. Rowdy coming back from P14 all the way up to P5. That was a heck of a drive through the field. He's my pick for driver of the day for split 1.
Excellent. I would have to go with now I'm blanking, but Rick Shear, he came in 3rd, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I was like, wait, maybe I thought it was a different person. I'm going to go with our fellow commentator who's going to be joining you in a moment. Rick Shear. That was a roller coaster over the. Just kidding.
Now the words come out.
now it's we're no longer co-hosts, we're racers.
Yep,
Sal,
exactly.
thank you so much, man. This was fantastic. You have done a great job with this stream. Everything looks awesome. Excited for you for the next race. You're going to take it on with Rick and Titanium, I believe. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct. So, good luck to you guys. Hope you have a good race. We will be here cheering you on. Yeah, get that last bit of practice in.
All right, we will. I'm going to go ahead and say bye. We'll let Leo say bye. I'll catch y'all later.
All right, guys. We'll be back after a bit of a break here. They shouldn't be able to hear us now, right? I don't think so. We should be silent. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gran Turismo PHG World Series. We are waiting to start in Split 2 race today. For this one, I'm joined in the booth with my fellow hosts, Titanium Ashes and Rick Shear. Rick ran us through a Split 1, and also Rick is going to be our lead commentator for this second Split race. Rick, I'll let you handle it from here.
Thanks so much, Al. Well, everyone, I have adrenaline coursing through my veins after that race. It was truly epic. Joined today with Sal on the ones and twos. Thanks for the team that did the commentary in the first race, and Titanium Ashes as well is joining us for commentary on the second one. How are you doing, Titanium?
I'm doing well. Heck of a race you ran. It's super sportsmanship there. It was great. I hope everybody is ready to go for another round.
Exactly. Yeah. If race 2 is anything like race 1, and we know often that race 2 is closer racing than race 1 can be, split 1, I should say. This could be really, really exciting. And for those of you that are just joining us, this is PHG World Series race, round 4. We're at the Red Bull Ring. We've got 18 laps, and we're in the Group 3 machinery. Lots of different cars on display at the moment. We've got a couple Supras, quite a few Corvettes in there. The car that I drove and quite a few people were driving was the Porsche 911. Very good in wet conditions, which is what we have here. We have changeable weather and conditions and a lot of rain that hits about halfway through. So yeah, really exciting stuff. What did you think of the first race, Sal?
It was exciting. Oh my God, there was so many passes with the rain coming in, and there was a lot of action for the first half of the race. You guys were pretty well bunched up. Other than P1 and P2 that kind of ran away, everybody else was going at it. We even followed a heck of a battle going on at the back of the pack, back in P11, P12, P13. There was some really good racing happening back there. It just all around, it was a fun race to watch.
Absolutely, yeah. And it looks like qualifying then has started.
I think they're still practicing. The qualifying will be starting shortly, though.
Okay, very nice. Oh yeah, exactly. It's heavy rain right now, so they wouldn't be qualifying in that. Yeah, it's we had some very interesting rain. I think a lot of people ran practice sessions before, and the rain was kind of hitting around the same time in a very predictable way. But for this race, it was kind of different to what pretty much had been going on every time in the practice session. So it definitely threw some interesting things in there. Awesome. And it looks like we're into qualifying now. Cars are just leaving the pits.
Correct.
Very exciting. Did you get to watch any practice sessions, Titanium, or run any laps?
I've seen quite a bit of practice going on. I did not run any laps on this, just observation, and I did a little bit of research on the track, since it is a real world track.
Yeah, do you like it? Is it a good one?
Yeah, it seems to be. Most drivers can only go full throttle about 79% of the time, which I thought was interesting considering there's lots of, straighter areas. But I'm assuming that's because of the elevation changes and such like that. It kind of throws you off a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely helps if you have a car that has good straight line speed, because there are some really long straights, but it is by its nature a very technical track. And there's got some high downforce, like fast corners, where you need to kind of trail brake and be very technical with how you approach it. So if you can have a car that can do everything, it can, get by other straight, it can keep up, it can hold its own, then you're going to be in a good shape.
Right.
And this car here is the 4C. Looks like there's a Subaru there as well. Shout out to Shaggy. Shaggy was in the first race there, and we were going topsy-turvy all the way through the race. So lots of fun racing with Shaggy and everyone else in the race. But yeah, looks like people are selling their first laps, or no? I think
we just finished the out lap. Yep. So now we're on to the hot laps here. I was going to put on we'll follow T-Case and Leo here through some of the qualifying. We got to get our fellow commentators some airtime because they didn't get enough.
Yeah, T-Case is driving the Vet, which I'm surprised by, honestly. I would have thought he's been driving the Ferrari a lot in practice, so good to see some American muscle.
He did mention in the first split that he was trying the Ferrari, and he ended up, somebody mentioned to him, hey, give the Corvette a try, which he did, and he was instantly faster, so he was sold. Okay,
there you go. Yeah, I think the Corvette in the dry is one of the fastest cars around here. And I think it's okay in the wet because it's I think you shift pretty early, and so it's quite high torque, I think. And I don't know if it's turbocharged, but certainly if you're revving it out or shifting up early in the power band, you're going to have less wheel spin in those wet conditions. Yeah, Leo rocking the Porsche. I haven't seen too many other Porsches, but yeah, I've seen the Alfa Romeo, kind of another mid-engine car, which did very well in the first race. Racer 51 took it home to second. I know Fast Cougar was right in the mix for that third place, but I think he became fifth or sixth at the end of the day. Yeah, really exciting. Looks like we've got our first times. T-Case and Ecstasy, very, very close together, 130.3. So the second split, they're not far off the top split quali times, within a second. And actually, there you go, Leo, 29.8. So he's within a second of that top qualifying time. And this qualifying session it's only 5 minutes, where I think in a lot of the recent races we've been used to 10. So there's a bit of margin for error there, and people can kind of build up to a big final lap. But you didn't really get that luxury. I certainly didn't feel it in the first split. You just kind of had to go and hope you get a good first one in, and then you've really got one other lap, and that's that. I think maybe I had one penalty. So yeah, you've just got to make the best of it. S2C in the McLaren, absolutely love that car. Very, very solid. And yeah, GTRs, Plankton in the Porsche, lots of good stuff to look at.
Yeah, it was really interesting in that first split, the top 7 drivers. We were talking about Vetter Dan being way back in 7th, but he was only 0.4 off of the leader. I mean, the top 7 drivers were less than a half a second apart. So it'll be interesting to see as this shakes up or finishes off, just how tight the qualifying is.
Yeah, and it's looking pretty tight already. I think lots of the guys within that close 29, high 29 range.
We got our commentators, Leo and T-Case, 1 and 2 at the top of the qualifying board so far.
That's what we love to see. Yeah, the team reffing and doing well.
Yeah, but only 2/10 off, and then Ecstasy. What's he got here? A 130 flat, and Plankton's only 0.3 off of him.
Very close racing. And Sal, you're not racing this weekend. Any particular reason? Maybe you spoke about it already, but it's good to have you as the race director here.
I did talk about it. Red Bull's just not my favorite track. It's not one. I shouldn't say that. I like the track. I'm just not very good at it. So I figured this was a good week to take off. With the points system for this league being that only 4 of the 7 races count, you can take up to 3 races off and still get max points. So I decided to take a seat, do some commentary, and just kind of enjoy and watch it rather than dealing with the stress of driving it.
Exactly. Yeah, very nice. Pick your battles and also put on a good show for the rest of the crew. Yeah, super exciting. Alrighty, it looks like some of the team is done.
Yeah, it looks like we're pretty much wrapped up with this. Papa, Can you get a better time? He does. He rockets up into P2.
The very, very enticing top 4, top 5 races there. Yeah, S2C can improve. But well done, team. Good mix of mostly US drivers and a couple of Canadians. We've got a good contingent of Canadian racers in PHG. We were talking this week in the idea of doing a USA versus Canada race. I think that would be, or like maybe a mini series. and actually for a good cause, for a charity race. So that could be really, really fun.
That does sound fun. I'm excited for that to come to fruition.
Yeah, really fun.
It looks like we got a much bigger mix of cars in this particular qualifying session. We got, if we go through the order, we got Leo at the top in his 911. Papa qualifying in P2 right at the end there, coming across and dropping almost a whole second on his time in the GTR to end up in the P2 spot. T-Case in his Corvette in P3, followed by Ecstasy in P4 in the McLaren 650. Then we got Racer Dude in the 4C, P5. Plankton qualifies P6 in his 911. Nasty qualifies P7 in his 911. A little bit of a Tron-inspired livery, it looks like. P8, we got Jazam in the RCF. Then P9, looks like we got K-Dub in the Subaru BRZ, making Shaggy proud. Iron Fix, P10 in the R8. First time we've seen that today. Speedburner in the old NSX GT500, also the first time we've seen that today. Dawn Squad in a Merc, the SLS AMG GT3. And Shaggy, Shaggy's not racing in this one, so.
Yeah, exactly. That, you don't see that 2011 Merc GT3 too often, so shout out to Dawn Squad. Was it last week as well? Dawn Squad was rocking the Group C car at Road Atlanta. Someone like that. The anti-meta car.
I don't recall.
Very good stuff.
All right, well, we should be starting soon here, it looks like.
Yep. Push on pole, just like race 1. We'll see if anyone's able to kind of pull out of the front. I think the big key to success in this race is minimizing your penalties. I think it almost comes down to the person with the least penalties and the fewest mistakes is the one that's going to finish high up there. So that's certainly what I felt. Track limits, with this track, you do kind of have to abuse them, and you can just find so much time by taking wider lines, but you're walking a tightrope there, because if you get it ever so slightly wrong, which is very easy to do in these kind of changeable conditions, you're going to get a penalty. Thankfully, the penalty line here is not too penalizing. It's not too far before a braking zone, unlike some other places where it can really, really hurt you.
All right, looks like we're coming to the start-finish line to get this thing underway. Split 2 of the Gran Turismo PHG World Series. And we're off.
Let's go, team. Looks like Leo's made a decent start. Papa in the GTR. See if they can get through turn 1 unscathed. Looking pretty good up at the front. Maybe a bit of elbows out at the back, but everyone kind of getting through there. Not too many penalties by the looks of it. Alrighty, yeah, and a very clean turn 2 or turn 3 there, depending on what you consider turn 2 or turn 3. Looking very good, and Leo's made a great start.
Yeah,
Papa's kind of slotted in.
Yeah, much like last week, the second split is actually even tighter and cleaner going into those first couple of corners, which is fun to see. This is a tight pack of racing. We saw that in the first split. A lot of tight racing. Not a lot of people just kind of getting off onto an island, and this is shaping up to have a lot of action.
Yeah, I think part of the reason I had so much action with other drivers was I was out braking myself quite a bit, and I had 1 or 2 overtakes which I wasn't really intending, but they kind of just worked. And I think maybe 1 or 2 love taps with people where I wasn't right to keep the place, so maybe waited up for them or whatever. But certainly it's a track that rewards aggressive but fair overtaking. Yeah. Alrighty. Looks like Leo kind of with Papa tucked in behind, and T-Case very close up at the front there. Papa's still in the slipstream. Leo's rocking this awesome US Army livery on this Porsche 911. And the weather's looking good for now. It's foreboding. Who knows what's going to come and when it's going to come? But don't get too comfortable, guys. Very cool. And Sal, how's your first experience of being a race director and kind of switching through different views and different modes on the stream? How's that going for you?
It's fun, honestly. So trying to kind of keep the focus on where the action is, and without jumping around too much and making people sick. It's kind of what I'm after here. But and thankfully we had plenty of action in Split 1, and it's fun seeing this train of cars we got going in Split 2. It's probably only a matter of time before we start seeing some passing happening here.
Absolutely. And Titanium is the bookkeeper of PHG. She is kind of very carefully looking after all of our race results and scores, and making sure that all of the standings for the league, for the races, are accurately recorded and kind of shared in a timely manner. So Titanium plays a super important role for PHG, and has been stepping in with commentary as well as a lot recently. So how are you doing right now, Titanium?
And I appreciate the thought. It always seems like I'm not really doing that much at all, but at last count, considering we're now at 76 team drivers, it's starting to be a little bit to get everybody in there and everything. And so this league is really awesome to see everybody turning out and what we can do. And I'm just going up and down the grid here, kind of keeping watch. Everybody seems to be spread out decently even so far.
Yeah, doesn't look like there's been one or two. There hasn't been too many incidents, I would say. It's all clean single file racing, and that's crazy. 76 drivers, and it's. I love PHG is a very friendly, welcome, open door policy. If you want to come, and find a team or a league that rewards kind of friendly, clean racing, this is the place to be. So the more the better, and more work for Titanium, I'm sure.
Right, but that's okay.
Exactly. Happy headache.
Looks like Plankton picked up a penalty there coming through the final set of corners of the lap, and almost gave up a position to a Nasty behind him, who's staying all over his rear bumper. If he can stick with him, he'll definitely get that pass done when Plankton has to serve his penalty, if he doesn't get it even before that.
I haven't seen too many penalties, to be fair. Everyone's keeping it on the straight and narrow.
They might have learned from watching that first race. There were so many penalties in that first race from everybody that maybe they've all kind of taken note. It's like, hey, settle down, gain some time.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there's a lot of half-second penalties out there, and there's a few kind of track limit 1 second penalties. But I had a very strange one towards probably around 2/3 into the race, where it's actually at this turn they're on now. I ran out wide of the curb there, and I got a 1.5 second penalty, which thankfully, with the way the race was, with so much rain, you can kind of make that up pretty quickly. But in dry conditions, a 1.5 penalty can really hurt you.
Yep, looks like Plankton lost that one spot, did not lose a second, stayed ahead of K-Dub, and behind him, Speedburner also had a penalty that he had to serve, so he wasn't able to capitalize on that as well, but kind of just barely hanging on to this pack ahead.
Look at his times, he's 129s, 130s. He's putting in fast laps. It's just the split here is, they're all doing a great job, and everyone's got pace today. So
yeah, I mean it's split too, which you always think is kind of the second list of drivers, but all these guys are also fast, so
yeah. Absolutely, yeah. And as the rain falls, I think, as it's going to fall probably, in about 3 to 5 laps time, I would say I put my money on Ecstasy and Leo for a podium. just being in the mid-engine kind of car. You know, TK and Papa, they've put in their practice, but I don't love that GTR in the rain, to be honest with you. The turbocharger can kick in and spin you out quite nastily. And, you know, the Corvette's a fast car. I wish I could drive it better, but I've never been able to drive it remotely fast. I think I need to really sit down and get acquainted with it, because so many people use it in this league, and it's the acceleration and top speed is incredible. But yeah, I don't know. To me, it feels so understeery, and also I have a bit of a lead foot, so I can spin out with it sometimes as well.
Yeah, that one definitely has a lot of power oversteer on corner exit, and if you can't control your throttle, it's a beast. But if you can get it under control, it's a real fun one to drive. The Corvette is one of my favorites.
Juzam just got real squirrely, and Plankton is now making a move. Nasty is now above.
Ooh, look at this.
Already made the pass, yeah. And looks like Plankton just went purple.
Oh, yeah. All three of these guys here have a nice tight battle back in the mid-pack.
Definitely. I've been keeping an eye on them, because Plankton and Nasty especially it's been real close for most of this race.
Yeah, good racing, and it can get tricky going up into that heavy braking zone up the hill. It's hard to kind of know exactly when to judge your braking point. You got to account for the slipstream that you've had, and you know, maybe taking a tighter line if you're on the inside. I certainly caught myself out a few times, but yeah, always good to brake and be on the safe side when you're around fellow fast, clean drivers.
Then we go back up to the front, and Papa is just not letting Leo get away. These two have a history. They have a bit of a fun rivalry where they threaten they're going to take each other out, which is all just in good fun. But here they are battling it out really well at the front of this pack, and they are nose to tail.
Yeah, and he's biding his time. He's not sticking it up the inside on that corner, which can be it would really just slow them both down and bring TK's back into it. This is really one of the better overtaking spots on the track, and also if you can set up a good exit, you can get a pass done into the next braking zone as well. So yeah, Papa biding his time. He's been racing that GTR on stream quite a bit this week at Suzuka, so he's obviously grown to like it quite a bit if he hadn't already. GTR is a good car too. It's one of my kind of favorite Group 3 cars in GT7. I used to play Gran Turismo Sport, and I could never really handle it, but with the latest physics, I can. So it's a very fun car.
Now, we did have a car come into the pits early. Now, we know these drivers can see the weather a lot more than we can. And Ironfix, came in and got intermediates before everybody else. And being in the R8, another rear engine, that is a rear engine car, isn't it? We'll see if maybe he can pick up some extra time by, doing the undercut and coming in and see it predicting that rain. And it looks like everybody is now coming in now that the rain has started to fall. You can see everybody entering pit road. Let's see where Ironfix ends up when this is all done.
Yeah, a little bit on that first part of the meter there, and I do see it coming down on the screen.
Ironfix was near the back starting that last lap, so he may have thought, hey, I got nothing to lose. Let's just see if we can get down the rain tires sooner and try to make up some time.
Yeah, certainly where he's at now on the rain meter, he's faster than softs, but it just depends. Did the rest of the guys get into the pits before that crossover point? Could be a strategic master stroke. And oh wow, look at that! That is close coming out of the pits.
Yes, it looks like they had plenty of a lead on Ironfix. He wasn't able to make up too much time there, but nobody got caught out in the rain. It looks like, other than maybe whoever was in last. Or SSC got a bump. Did he get a bump, or did he just get a little squirrely?
I think just maybe a bit trigger happy, but he's jumped up. He's on course to jump up 2 spots since coming out of the pits. So let's see. Mid-engine power can do the trick here.
Oh yeah, he just got a little throttle happy on exit there, but was able to rein it in.
Yeah. good, if you'll pardon the pun.
Yeah.
So yeah, STC, there you go, up to second. I think, yeah, STC and Leo could have a good battle.
Yeah, we got two of the mid-engine cars, 1-2, and now we got a Corvette and a GTR. You know, Papa's falling back to fourth. He may struggle here in the rain. Let's see if he can keep his wits about him. Dial it back and take it easy and maintain some pace.
Speedburner and Plankton. Speedburner's trying to pass him. And he did not make a mistake. Nope. Now he has. As for Papa, I don't know if you guys noticed, but he took full wets, and TK's and Leo took intermediates, which I thought was interesting. There's very few people that took full wets, it seemed.
Yeah, that seemed to be the pattern in the first split, that a lot of the people running the front engine cars took full wets, while those that were running the rear engines could make it work on intermediates. I'm not sure if that's the same strategy people are trying to use here.
Yeah, I was actually, based on, I think, some testing I did, and maybe I only just drove a mid-engine car, but a lot more people were on wets in the race than I thought, and maybe because, like, I know you guys couldn't see it from the commentary, but the way the weather came in on the radar was quite different to the practice sessions, and it looked quite a bit worse than I think what people had practiced. So maybe people just kind of took that split-second counter strategy of taking the wets, and maybe they are faster for a few laps, but as you get into the last 4 or 5 laps, intermediates just eat you up. As we saw with Lyric in the race, very fast, but kind of fell away to myself and Shaggy.
Looks like Papa was able to make his way around TK's and starting to put a little bit of distance on there. Let's see if he can try to run down Estacey and Leo, who are gapping the field a little bit.
Yeah, Papa's flying now. He looks like he's found his rhythm. And yeah, we can see he's probably
he's running them down
now. So if he's on those wets, that's what's really going to help him at this time.
Yeah, he's right there. Cool.
And it's got great straight line speed, that GTR. McLaren, not too bad. The Porsche's such a good all-round car. I think I've become a Porsche guy. I never thought I would in the Group 3s. I never really liked it in GT Sport either, but now it's like my go-to in GT7. I guess it is kind of one of the meta cars, but it's just very, very good all round. Yeah.
It seems to be slightly above average
in
everything.
Just lost it.
Ooh, maybe we can head back and see what's going on with Jazam.
I think he just came in way too hot.
Oh yeah, turn 1. That could really catch you out. Wow, Sal, what awesome technical features you got here.
Oh yeah, he just had the power, got on the power a little too early coming out. He actually had the braking under control, but it looks like just got a little throttle happy.
Lots of replay in that. Very, very cool. So yeah, he's got some time to make up. So here we go, Papa, all over the back of these two.
These top 3 are really going at it. Do we think Papa's trying to be patient? Or do we think Papa's just chomping at the bit to get up?
Well,
I think he's got to be. Yeah.
Papa and Leo actually have a little bet going. Started last year, just before Christmas. And that is that if Leo wins, then Papa has to wear a Santa suit this next Christmas. And if Papa wins, Leo has to wear an elf suit. So they are trying to.
There's some real stuff on the line here.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, but they are actually, I think, planning to do this. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top.
There's a little bit of an accordion action, it looked like, going into turn 1 there. Spread them out a little bit.
Jazam just lost it again. He's fell back into P11. He's having a hard time getting going again.
Elbows out everywhere.
Let's see what happened here again. Oh, was loose coming into the corner. That time it was under braking.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would struggle to handle these conditions with that Lexus. I think it's got quite a bit of power oversteer as well, and yeah, quite light at the rear, quite front heavy. Oh, yellow flags.
Plankton had spun out.
Not nice. Yeah, no,
Let's see what happened with him here. It looks like coming into that, it's a heavy braking zone. Oh, just lost it under braking.
Yeah, these are the kind of conditions where you cannot have 100% brake pressure, and this corner particularly, it's got that downhill camber, kind of falling away from you. If you hit the full brakes there, you are going around in a circle, as we saw with Mr. Plankton.
Couple with a half-second penalty.
Yeah,
it looks like people have spread out a little bit now. 1, 2, and 3 now have a little bit of space, followed by 4, 5, 6. And then we got 7, 8, 9. So we got like 3 different packs going here.
It seems like it's let up on the lane. It appears.
TK's maybe, yeah, TK's is kind of maybe...
He's leading the second pack here.
Yeah, exactly. So that he obviously had some pace in the drive phase, and maybe it's just fallen back a bit in this kind of wet second phase of the race. But as things dry up, maybe we'll see some good stuff. Oh, okay. The Papa with a penalty.
Yeah, these top 3. This is still the biggest or the closest fight in the race, and Papa's probably going to lose a bit of ground here with this half-second penalty and these front 2. Let's see if they can get away. We were talking in the first split about that transition going from dry to wet, but also going from the wet back to the dry and trying to get your mind around, how is it you start getting faster? And when you switch back to those dry tires, or maybe just before you switch back to the dry tires, where's your braking point? How did you manage that, Rick, in the first race? Just as the track was drying out, adjusting your braking points as you go, and then also making sure to not get into anybody else while they're also adjusting their braking points based on
Racer Dude just
the moisture.
went off.
Who did?
Racer Dude, but he's managed to get back on. He's actually handled that quite well.
Very nice. In the Alpha. Ooh,
that right-hander can be slick.
You do not want wheels on that curve in these conditions. On this track, there's some curves which you can totally still use when it gets wet, but then there's some which I would just absolutely avoid, even when it starts to dry up. So I think turn 1 is a good example. In the dry, I'm fully on the curbs there, just with my right wheels on the red strip, which kind of indicates track limits, but I never got back onto it, even as it was really drying up. And then I think it's the turn after this one, kind of that long left-hander, the line really changes through that one in the wet, but you can always kind of finish up out on the curb. The side curb there has got a lot of grip, which I think traditionally you want to avoid curbs when it's super wet like this.
And these top 3 just will not let up. There hasn't been much passing. I mean, it's been Leo, Estes, Papa the whole time, but God, I'm sure each of them are just waiting for one of them to make a mistake.
Exactly, yeah. It's pure cat and mouse stuff here, and I think as the rain is subsiding, for sure. As we can see with that rain meter. So this is the part where I think with the Inters guys, they're going to start being faster. So Papa's on full wets, and we can see he's driving in the wet part of the track there just to conserve his tire life. But I think with Papa towards the end of the race, we're going to see him probably falling away from these guys, and good racing between Leo and Esther.
We got a tight battle here with Speedburner and Nasty back in 5-6.
I was literally about to tell you that.
Very cool indeed. Loving that livery from the pair of them, actually.
It looks like Nasty is on intermediates. Is Speedburner on intermediates as well?
No, he is on full wets.
So Nasty has the tire advantage here now that the track is drying out. Well, Speedburner barely holds on to it. Almost went wide in that corner.
Yeah, he's been accumulating 5-second penalties here and there, so I think that's what started Nasty to catch up.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're starting to see a dry line forming, so those Inters guys will be able to kind of drive on that and really have a time advantage. But again, you can't just take the dry lines that you were driving earlier in the race. You can get close to them still, that you've got to avoid some curves, and you've got to be careful to, if you're taking the dry line, you've got to commit to it on the asphalt, because if you drop your wheels onto a wet part, it's going to pull you around, give you some oversteer or understeer or whatever. So I certainly had a few of those moments.
And Papa's definitely fallen back, and T-Case is now right on him. It's like it's a battle for 3 and 4 here.
Yeah,
I'm curious, who's going to go into the pits first and try to get back onto those racing tires and try to make up some time. And then the question will be, will they be able to do it and not hit the wet?
Nasty and Speedburner too wide. Speedburner comes out just a little bit ahead.
Ooh.
And with Papa and T-Case is on the intermediates. Papa's on the full wet, so T-Case has the tire advantage there, catching up to him.
And T-Case got around Papa.
Yeah.
Yeah. He can make it stick through here. He should be okay.
Yep. Oh, Papa sends it in. T-Case holds it off.
That corner is really interesting because in the wet, in the proper wet, you take a really wide line and you just have so much more grip by avoiding the dry line. But then it kind of becomes this, you need to kind of play it both ways as it dries out. There's the dry line, which is very fast, but there's still a lot of grip on that outside. So you can get some good kind of wheel-to-wheel racing there, as Shaggy and I had in the first race.
It's still nobody coming into the pits yet.
Nasty finally got around Speedburner, and he's just flooring it.
Oh yeah,
he's got some space now.
Yeah.
Well, and he had the tire advantage, right? So let's see if he can pull away.
He's 3 laps, 6 seconds to Papa. So maybe P4 is on the cards for this intermediate Porsche driver.
Well, and we're down to the last 3 laps. Is there anybody or is everybody going to just stay on the wet tire and just try to make it last the last 3 laps? How much time are you going to gain at this point by coming in for race tires? We might see some pretty torn up tires by the time we get to the end of this.
Exactly. Yeah. Inters will comfortably make it. The wets, you can get shredded to 50% life or worse, which is when they're really going to kind of have that performance offset against the Inters. But at this stage of the race, there's too much time to make up on dries if you pit, because you lose 20 odd seconds at least. Dries, I think wet tires in the dry are only about 5 to 10% slower than dry tires in the dry. So it's really the opposite there. When you're on dry tires in the wet, then you're 50% slower, if not 100% slower than the wets.
It was really interesting, that first split. I mean, you guys had enough time to come in for that second pit stop and get back onto dry tires, right? Or did you guys stay on the wets?
No, we stayed. Yeah, we stayed out.
I'm not remembering that right then.
Yeah, maybe you're remembering the Le Mans race or something we did a while ago.
Speedburner has struggled so much, Plankton finally got around him and is trying to eat away at that time between him and Nasty.
Yeah, he's really struggling with these wet tires now that the track's drying out.
Mm-hmm. So Esther still tucked in behind Leo. Plankton up there. Yeah, everyone's getting closer to that 130 mark. Ooh. Yeah, Esther's pushing. Estes going for the win.
Oh, he is trying hard. Leo just can't shake him. He's had him all over him the entire race.
Yeah, and Leo, you know, it's the toughest place to be out first with a car in your rearview mirror, and it's not just been Esther, it's been Papa and TK's earlier. Oh, that's a very difficult time to get a penalty.
Oh, and he's gonna have to serve that right at the end of the last lap.
Yeah. So as long as Leo doesn't win it.
If he's gonna have any chance to win, he's got to get around Leo now and get some space. But
yeah,
Plankton just went off.
Ooh, that's gonna let speed burn.
Yep, sure did. And K-Dub passes.
Ooh.
So good race with it.
So he's at a
oh, he got his tires onto the dirt.
Yeah, he's stepping back.
And just couldn't quite save it. Yep. He just kind of kept going around.
Yeah.
Ouch.
And a half-second penalty to boot.
Okay, so Leo's made it through the first.
Still trying.
Yeah, he's pushing.
Let's see if we go back and check on Papa here quick. It's like, he's kind of stretched out from TK's. He's got a 1.6 seconds back from him.
Yeah, look at the tire wet now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the field's really stretched out. Looks like 1 and 2 are really the one to watch here.
Yeah, I think so.
But with that penalty...
Full race. Yeah, now the penalty comes.
Yeah, if Leo doesn't make a huge mental error in these last 2 corners, it looks like it's his.
Yeah, great show of mental resilience from Leo here. He's led lights to flag. And he's made it around the final corner. I don't think Leo's had a penalty. So there you go. Congratulations, Leo.
Very good second place. P2.
Awesome.
TK's coming across in P3.
Very cool.
Papa.
Good finish with Papa. Thanking his pit crew there. Ooh, here we go. Speed burner.
Oh, just trying to hold off K-Dub. Ooh, that might be a pen at the end.
Yes, and K-Dub's got him anyway. Racer Dude, Iron Fix, P9, Shazam, P10. And yeah, unfortunately, very
unfortunate. He had a fast car and just ran into some trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here we go.
Don Squad
bring up the rear.
Showing some resilience. Repping the Merc. Running it all the way to the end.
Keeping everyone safe at the back, making sure everyone gets around in one piece. Venerable stuff. Well done, Don Squad. And that's the race. Well done, everyone. Great finish for P1, P2, P3. We got Leo, STC, and TK's.
I dumped out of there a little early.
Love it. So, Leo, P1, pretty much had someone in his gearbox within a second for the entire race. So, great showing there. Great overall race time. STC hounding Leo in that McLaren, but just couldn't get it done. I think, yeah, he's been driving that McLaren a lot in this World Series. So great fast car there, and 2 mid-engine cars bringing up the front in these conditions. Corvette found some pace after that, maybe struggling a bit in that early kind of heavy wet part of the race, but found some pace there on the inters as things dried out. Papa, he was lightning fast in that kind of really heavy early wet part of the race. Looked like he wanted to get by and kind of maybe try and pull out ahead before he got reeled back in, but very creditable P4. Nasty P5, very, very good performance as well. And seemed to have lost it. But I think we had P6 was, here we go, we're back. P6 K-Dubs, exactly. Speedburner just couldn't keep it on the track there, so creditable P7 in those wet finishers there. Racer Dude picking it up in P8 in the 4C. We didn't see too many of those out there, but there was 2 in the first race, and they were pretty quick. Iron Fix, R8, great car, pretty solid finish there, and very, very creditable kind of early pit stoppers there going onto the wets. Shazam did a very good job. Almost just fell off my chair there. Shazam did a very good job in the Lexus. Just very difficult car to drive, so some understandable spins. Plankton was running a great race. Had that really big off, unfortunately. And Dawn Squad in the Anti-Meta 2011 AMG, beautiful car, and very good race for everyone. So that was it. Round 4 PHG of the World Series is complete. That was really fun at the Red Bull Ring. Certainly for me, when I was racing in Split 1, it was some of the most fun I've had on track this series. So I've had a lot of fun there. Titanium, what do you think of that one?
Is she on mute?
You there, Titanium?
Yes, I'm sorry. It was giving me problems. I'm sorry. To ask me again.
What did you think of the race?
I think it was amazing. They did a really good job. Everyone seemed to maintain themselves as well as possible up until the end there. And I gotta say, Leo held on for dear life, and I think he did an amazing job. And even Papa as well. So T-Case, he was in P3 for a long time, so I was surprised he didn't stick that, but that's all right. He'll get there next time.
I think he slipped back, but I think he ended up coming P3 on the day, so that's great. Papa.
Yep, TK's finished P3.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Papa's P4.
Not a problem.
That's my fault.
No, not a problem, and that's great news for the commentary team. We've got every racer who commentated finished on the podium today. So shout out the commentary team.
Go commentary team.
Yeah, let's go. Sal, what did you think of those 2 races? How was hosting and running the 1s and 2s?
It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of action this week. I was surprised in the second split. Everybody kept it a bit more civil. There actually seemed to be far fewer penalties in the second split as opposed to the first one, but it was still a good race. It did eventually spread out, but there was still battles throughout the entire race, which was fun. And in that first split, there was battles the entire race as well. We had packs of anywhere from 3 to 6 cars for many laps going through. And then the rain, you get the rain in both races. That always mixes everything up. And the strategy of whether you go with wets or intermediates, and all in all, I mean, there was a lot of passing and just a lot of good racing and a lot of good clean racing. Not any of that punting off business, and not a boring, everybody just kind of following each other and nobody ever changing spots. It was a fun race to watch.
Amen. Yeah, very, very cool. And look who we have. I think we have Mr. Leo, our race winner. Leo, you there?
No, I'm here. I was letting y'all finish. Don't worry.
Congratulations, Leo. How you feeling?
I'm glad that's over with. That end couldn't come any sooner.
Yeah, we were saying you had somebody like on your bumper like the entire race, but you were out in the lead most of the time. How'd you keep it together?
I didn't.
Are you having a nervous breakdown?
Mentally having a nervous breakdown every turn I could have. I do not like driving in the rain, personally. Like in real life and in a video game. I hate it. I've had two wrecks in the rain, and no, I don't like the rain.
Well, you did well.
Yeah, Leo, did you have any penalties?
No.
Wow, that's
none.
Very, very impressive.
Did you see that Ecstasy had one just before starting the second lap? So he was going to have to serve that penalty just as you were coming to the last two corners of the final lap, which we were wondering if he was going to pressure you even harder, knowing he'd have to get around you well ahead to have any chance of winning it, and you were able to continue to hold him off. Did you know that he might have had some desperation there?
I kind of figured he would have got one, because when we were coming on to the final lap, I had looked in my rearview mirror, and I saw him in turn one go wider than he should have. And I was like, okay, I don't know if that's a penalty or not, but I'm not pushing the button to look. I need to keep going. So I had no clue until someone in my chat told me that, yeah, he did pick up a penalty. You don't have to go crazy. I kind of feel bad because I feel like I may have couple of turns may have threw people off on slow I was going, because like I said, I'm not super confident in the rain. That's why I was like going very slow. I felt like.
No, it didn't. You weren't slow. I mean, many times you had at least a second on most people. So from our perspective up in commentary, it didn't look like a train. It looked like you were kind of out there at the front leading the pack, and absorbing all of the pressure, mental and physical. So give yourself a pat on the back, Cleo. Really well done.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Good job, man.
I think the coffee and monster trick worked. Just get yourself hyped up on enough caffeine, you will do anything.
Exactly. Sponsored by Mountain Dew.
There we go.
All right, so like we did in the first race, we went and chose a driver of the race. Let's see if we can come up with what each of us come up with for a driver of the race for this second split here. Let's start with Titanium. Who's your driver of the race?
I think I'm going to say Speed Bernard, because, as much as he had problems throughout, he hung on as much as he could, and I think did well considering.
Nice. What about you, Rick?
I'm going to give it to the man here sitting with us, enjoying his post-race interview. Leo, lights to flag, pole position, brought it home under immense pressure from many drivers there. Had 2 or 3 in his rear view mirror sometimes, and for most of that second half of the race had a really quick S to C kind of pressuring him, but kept it on the road, kept it in first place, and brought it home in first place.
That's a solid choice. I'm going to go with Ecstasy. He kept the pressure on Leo the whole time, while for a while having to hold off Papa as well. And there were some times Papa had a good chance to maybe get an overtake done, and Ecstasy was both able to hold off the pressure and apply the pressure at the same time. So he's got my vote for driver of the race.
Well done, everybody. Yeah, lots of great performances up and down the field. And as we were saying, almost cleaner and less penalties than in split one. I think everyone got to see in split one just how frenetic and crazy the racing can be. So took their chill pills before and made sure they focused on driving within limits and driving safely, and we saw that in how the result ended up.
All right, well, that's another one in the books. That was a good, fun set of races to watch, to commentate on. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap this stream up? What about you, Rick?
Titanium, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, no, not really. I am about to be very focused on points and data entry. So I think everybody did a wonderful job. Proud of the team as usual. Just in general, really proud of everyone.
Yeah, we're proud of you too. Thank you so much for doing all that very important stuff and recording the scores and keeping everyone up to date with how the standings are going. For me, that was probably the most fun race of the season so far. Shout out to Shaggy for kind of curating a great race and driving it as well. And next week, I believe that's probably one of the funnest races coming up too. We've got 1 hour of endurance racing at the Nürburgring in Group 4s. I'm really looking forward to that one. I don't know about you guys.
I am definitely looking forward to that one. I used to hate the Nürburgring, but in NRL Season 3, I was forced to really learn it because we had, I think it was 5 laps there in the rain, in the dark. I put in so much practice. So learning all 100 some odd corners of that track, I feel like I've got it under control. So I'm really looking forward to that one next week. This week, again, just some really good quality racing. I echo what both these guys said. Really proud of the drivers. Really good quality racing that was put on out there. Just really happy to be a part of this, and seeing all the action, and there was plenty of action. It was just really fun to be there. So I think with that said, we're going to wrap things up. As we said, the standings will be posted in Papa's Discord. For if there's anybody in chat that can post Papa's Discord out there in case anybody wants to join up and follow Papa's House of Game and this league, or maybe even join up to our race team and become a PHG member. That would be the way to go. But until next time, and until next week at the Nordschleife, I think that's going to be it for today. So everybody have a good one.
Okay, guys. Bye-bye.